Picture this, a landscape dotted with thousands of shimmering golden pagodas, a place where ancient spirituality just seems to hang in the air. You've got these breathtaking river valleys, dense teak forests, and a people known for their gentleness. That's the image most of us have of Myanmar, right? The Golden Land. But behind that serene facade, there's a much more complex and honestly, a much more turbulent story. Because that same land, it holds a deep and painful paradox. For decades, its beauty has been scarred by violence, its peace shattered by gunfire. It's a contradiction that really makes you stop and ask, how did a place of such profound tranquility also become the site of one of the world's longest, most enduring conflicts?
This quote, right here, it just perfectly captures that contradiction we're talking about. And to really understand how these two realities can exist in the exact same place, we have to go back in time, way back, to the magnificent empires that first shaped this nation.
See, long before modern borders were ever drawn on a map, this region was a cradle of some incredibly powerful civilizations. The story of Myanmar as a single unified place really begins here, in an age of kings and conquest.
So our story really kicks off in the 11th century. On these central dry plains, a powerful kingdom rose up. This was the Pagan Empire, and for more than 200 years, its kings managed to unify all the diverse peoples of the Irrawaddy Valley, creating a regional superpower that stood right alongside the famous Khmer Empire of Angkor Wat. And if you want to understand the sheer scale of their ambition and their faith, look at this number. In the capital zone alone, the rulers of Pagan built over 10,000 Buddhist temples, stupas, and monasteries. It was this absolute explosion of religious devotion carved right into stone. I mean, it's a legacy that still stands today, a testament to this golden era.
But here's something that's crucial to understand. Even back then, in this age of unity, the land was a mosaic of different peoples. You had the majority Bomar group living alongside the Shan, the Karen, the Rakhine, and dozens of other distinct ethnic groups. This incredible diversity isn't some new thing. It's the ancient bedrock of the nation's identity, and it's also a huge part of understanding its modern fractures.
But that delicate balance, it was about to be completely shattered. The arrival of a new empire, this time from across the sea, was going to change everything. The British came looking for resources and a strategic foothold, and in the process, they didn't just redraw the map, they sowed the seeds of future conflict. And this wasn't a single event. It was a slow, methodical, 60-year conquest. Through 3 separate wars, Great Britain just systematically dismantled the Burmese kingdom. It started with annexing some coastal areas, and it ended in 1886 with the entire country being absorbed into the British Raj, governed simply as a province of India.
Now, this slide is so important because it's basically the blueprint for all the trouble to come. The British drew new borders, lumping together ethnic groups who had their own complex histories with each other. The whole economy was re-engineered to just extract resources, rice, teak, oil, for the empire. And a new social order was forced on them, putting the native Barma people at the bottom. You can imagine the deep-seated resentment that created, resentment that would simmer for generations.
You know, even the name of the country tells the story of this division. Back in 1989, the military government changed the name from Burma to Myanmar. But for so many who oppose military rule, the name Burma is still a symbol of resistance. It's a refusal to recognize the legitimacy of the junta. It's a small detail, but it reveals a massive political divide.
So when independence finally came after World War II, the hope for a stable, unified democracy was, tragically, very short-lived. Those colonial fractures we talked about, they proved to be just too deep. And into that power vacuum stepped the military.
The new Union of Burma was basically born into conflict. Ethnic groups that had been promised a degree of autonomy felt completely betrayed, and insurgencies started popping up almost immediately. The fragile civilian government just struggled to hold the country together, which paved the way for the military, the Tatmadaw, to step in and present itself as the only institution that could guarantee national unity.
And what came next is this crucial, repeating cycle of hope and brutal repression. You have a coup in 1962. Then a massive people's uprising for democracy in 1988, crushed. A landslide election victory for democracy in 1990, the generals just ignored it. And then after a brief, hopeful period of opening up, that same cycle repeated itself all over again in 2021. So, that brings us to today. All of those historical fault lines, the ethnic diversity, the colonial legacy, the military's iron grip on power, they've all converged into a devastating national crisis.
But the 2021 coup, it was different. It didn't just suppress democracy. It ignited a nationwide revolution. For the first time, many people from the Bamar majority actually joined forces with the long-standing ethnic armed groups, creating this unprecedented united front against the Tatmadaw. The country just descended into a full-blown civil war.
And the human cost of this war, it is just staggering. As of late 2024, the United Nations estimates that 3.5 million people have been forced from their homes. And these aren't just numbers. These are lives upended, families torn apart by a conflict that's rooted in the centuries of history we've just walked through. Which leaves us with this final, profound question. Myanmar's story is really a struggle between its incredible diversity and a violent, ongoing effort to impose a singular identity. The dream of the Golden Land, it's still there, but its future really hinges on whether its many, many peoples can finally forge a shared path out of the long shadow of history.